I actually had, I think it was a 7 p.m. or an 8 p.m. rule, which is I would not study past 7 p.m. no matter what, because I would rather just sleep early and then wake up the next day earlier
Hmm.
and just study then. You're just kind of transferring over your studying to the next day when you're
Yeah.
going to be more refreshed because you're going to, it's going to be in the morning. Honestly, I still remember the first couple of like pounds because I sell in pounds. The first pounds I made, and it went into my account, and then I was at the school canteen, and I went to like the canteen and I bought like this pastry which is worth nothing. Like I took a bite out of it and I said, "Wow, I really just fed myself." Like, and the beard is not helping either. So like I look way older than I am. I'm only 19, but I probably look like I'm mid 20s. Uh,
Yeah.
so if I keep making videos, I don't know if I'm gonna resonate with the audience like I used to.
Hey Youssef, how are you?
I'm good at hearing. What about you?
I'm great, man. So let me just explain how I met you in Ramadan. So the holy month for Muslims. I came across your video that you made on how to stay productive during Ramadan, and ever since then I've been watching you. And then I started my own channel. So I was like, why not bring on the person that I watched as well? So that's why I reached out to you, and that's why you're here. So do you want to give a small background about yourself and what you are, what you do?
Yeah, sounds good. So I'm Youssef. My channel is called Chigs, which used to be a nickname of mine. So I just made it that. So people don't find me when I was still growing because I didn't want people to know about my channel. But yeah, I just started the channel around 2 years ago, and I noticed that first of all, I have a lot of free time. I wanted to use that free time to do something productive. And at the same time, the whole studying niche, especially for GCSEs and A levels, there were some YouTubers that were giving good advice, but most of the advice was very basic, just do practice questions or whatever. And at the same time, they weren't really optimizing their videos to actually do well on YouTube, as in their titles weren't
Hmm.
that good, thumbnails, editing, all of that stuff. So I said, why not? Even though I have no experience whatsoever in video production, I could probably become better than 70 to 90% of the competition within a couple of
Yeah.
months. So that's what I did, and I just kept on making videos, kept on trying to monetize it, so I can, you know, increase my business sharpness early on
Hmm.
through the channel.
Yeah, a lot of people, they don't go for this niche. They go for like gaming or something like that. So why did you choose this niche in particular? About A levels and GCSEs, all of that.
Well, first, I'm not really a gamer or like any other
Yeah, me
niche.
too. I'm not a
Uh,
gamer at all.
yeah, I had my Fortnite phase, I had my FIFA phase,
Hmm.
but other than that,
Everyone does.
yeah, I don't really see myself playing games that often. And also, it was also something that I wanted to benefit out of and make sure other people benefit from. And at the same time, it was also something that I wanted to monetize. And I would say it's probably harder to monetize a gaming channel. And also, it's harder to stand out as a gaming YouTuber.
Yeah,
So
because
many
it's
people out there
such a
playing
big
games.
niche. It's not a niche at all. It's like there's so many gaming YouTubers that it's impossible.
Yeah, exactly. What's going to make you stand out, right? So I went
Hmm.
for the they call it the blue ocean strategy. You try to go for the ocean that, it's blue as in there's not that many people in it.
Yeah.
So I chose that niche, and alhamdulillah, it did pretty well for the past 2 years.
So, yeah. So what subjects did you choose in A levels?
In A levels, I did physics, computer science, math, and then Arabic.
Arabic. Was Arabic mandatory, or like did you just choose it because you could do it?
No, it wasn't mandatory at all. To me, it was probably more like half a subject because there wasn't that much
Hmm.
preparation I had to do because I'm a native Arabic speaker.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just said, why not just take it?
So, and what are you doing now?
Right now, I'm studying computer science at university, just the second year. Nothing special. Just I've always been into computer science, so decided to do it as a degree.
So, how's it going so far?
Yeah, it's not too bad. We're just at the phase where I'm trying to grind out projects and trying
Yeah.
to trying to find internships, which is a struggle right now. But
Hmm.
khair, inshallah. Hopefully within the next couple of months I can secure something. Um, but yeah, that's how it's going.
Bro, I always tried myself to like computer science, but I never liked it because it was so, with the whole Python and all of that coding. And I had a teacher in year 11, and because of that, my experience was completely ruined. So after that, I never really
Mm.
took interest in computer science. So I'm on like the maths, physics, chemistry side. So about engineering.
Fair enough. I mean, to be fair, I don't know if someone's broke it to you yet, but even if you go into engineering, there's going to be a decent amount of coding.
Yeah, I know. No, don't worry.
I
My
have
dad
friends in
like keeps on
mechanical and
repeat.
electrical.
My dad keeps telling me like, no matter where you go, computer science is gonna follow you. Coding is gonna follow
Yeah,
you. AI is gonna follow you. So you can't really run away from it.
yeah, you can't run away from it. I also have friends studying economics and they're taking computer science courses that are mandatory. So yeah, it's
Really?
well integrated into society now.
Yeah, I mean, you can't run away from it. Coding's everywhere. AI is everywhere. So you really just can't run away from it.
Yeah, exactly. And also, if your teacher did turn you off computer science, I'll probably say computer science is a very self-study type of subject. I've
Mhm.
never really had a good computer science teacher that taught me coding. Like I had a good computer science teacher that taught me the other stuff like the theory. But when it came to coding, most of the learning that I did was just on my own.
Right. So it was self-study from like how did you practical or did you learn it from a textbook or how did you do it?
Well, you just start from the basics, right? So I started from learning loops, if statements, whatever, just building up. You can take courses, you just watch YouTube videos that explain it. Right now, it's much easier because ChatGPT can write probably better code than 90% of people, and it will
And it
explain
won't make a
every single
mistake
line for
either.
you. Yeah, exactly. Now, sometimes it will make mistakes. I've tried to use ChatGPT to, streamline my projects, and you have to babysit it a lot. But in terms of the actual coding, then it does a really good job.
That's great. Now I'm gonna move on towards the like the studying, productivity, all of that part because that's what your niche was based on, and that is what I think most people would be interested in understanding and getting better at as well. So my first question to you is, the whole concept of study techniques. So what was your favorite one, and like what you suited you the most? Because it varies from different people. Because some people like note taking, even though it's a complete waste of time. Some people like to do, I don't know, make flashcards, which is spaced repetition. So what was your ideal technique?
Well, the whole idea is there's no ideal technique. One of the principles that I always try to drill into my videos is that you actually have to look at each subject for what it is. You have to look at the nature of each subject, and then based on that, you're gonna have to tackle it. So flashcards are an amazing technique to learn physics or biology. But if you try to use flashcards for math, you're not gonna do that well, right? So there's no technique that fits all subjects. That being said, though, I did end up, trademarking my special technique, which I used to call the NFT method. It just stands for notes, flashcards, and then test questions. I know you hated on notes, but I'll be honest, notes were a pretty decent way for me to start tackling a subject without going heavy into it. And so the way it would go is just if you're going to learn physics or biology or chemistry, for example, or really any information-heavy subject, you just start off light, taking notes and just trying to understand the subject. And then after that, you make flashcards based on those notes, and then you'd finish it off with test questions. That was just a very easy way for me to just cover all aspects of the subject.
Right. So so I get what you're saying, but the thing, I take notes in school as does everyone else. But when I come home I'm gonna give an example of chemistry. There's a website called ChemRevise that has the notes already made for you. So what I do is I download them as a PDF. I have an iPad, so I use my iPad, the pencil, and all I do is read the textbook, and then if there's anything in the textbook that's not mentioned in the notes, I write it in those notes as well. So I don't have to make the whole thing. I just have to add a little bit of the extra information. So instead of wasting like 10 hours making notes on one topic, I can complete that off in like 2-3 hours, which is saved me a lot of times, and I can focus on topical past paper questions and then actual past paper questions.
No, that's definitely like a technique that would save you a lot of time. The only caveat I would say is that when you write down the notes, when you actually try to understand the information, that just triggers a different part of your brain. Like, for example, if you're going to just read the notes and say, yeah, that's in the textbook, your brain is not going to put as much emphasis into it as if you actually found it in the textbook yourself and said, you know what, that's an important piece of information that I probably need. And then you type it out, for example. And then it just comes with practice. Like, I got really I got really good at making notes. I'd watch videos. I wouldn't go through textbooks. I'd watch videos at like 2 times speed, for example, free science lessons, whatever. And then I'd just pause the video whenever he said something important, and I would write it down. I'll type it. I wouldn't even write it, just to make sure, because like you said, I can save a lot of time, right? So just to make sure I'm saving as much time as possible.
Yeah, okay. Got it. And also, do you know there's active revision techniques, there's passive revision techniques? Did you always use an active revision, or because I used to take notes and that was solely how I studied. Even when there was a test coming up, I would not use past favorite questions. I would just go back to the notes and be like, okay, I'm done. So did you was there a point where you're like, oh, what I'm doing is a complete time waste, it's inefficient, and I should probably change my study techniques?
Oh, for sure. I mean, when I started off in year 10, first of all, the way I would study in year 9, because year 9 was easy, right? It was like very basic information.
Yeah.
The way I would study is that I would just look at the short textbook that they would give us, for example, for science, and I would turn that into notes. And because it was year 9, it wasn't really a proper exam. Whatever questions they gave us were just easy questions based on the notes, right? So for me, that was working. I was doing well. At some point, I got second highest in my whole year group for a science for a science exam. So I was like, you know what, that's my studying technique. But then I came to year 10, and it was physics.
It's a bit different, yeah.
There was one unit test in particular where I tried the same exact technique, and I just ended up getting like a 6 even though, you know, six for your first ever unit test is not that bad. For me, I was studying a lot and I was doing a technique that I thought worked, and I ended up getting a six. So that was kind of a, you know, a reality check. So I had to go back, and it took me a couple of months to learn that notes on their own, they're not gonna benefit you. You need to actually memorize the information, and then you need to actually, you know, utilize the past papers to understand exactly what the examiner wants off you.
Yeah, and also I think if you get good in a test, you become overconfident, and that overconfident can be very like bad for you eventually, because you're gonna be like, oh, I did this in year 9, and then when you go to year 10, I'm like, oh, I can still do it, and then you get the proper reality check that much different. And same for, you know, when you're doing in GCSEs, you take the same GCSE mindset to A levels, and then you're gonna find out, because A levels is not a joke as well.
Mm-hmm. No, exactly. A lot of people thought that I had a lot of friends that did further math GCSE and they got 9s, so they're like, yeah, you know what, math is, we're gonna lock it down. So then they ended up doing A-level math, not even further math, just normal math. And for the first couple of months and all of like the unit tests and whatever, they were getting C's and D's, even though they were supposedly good at math, because they just thought, you know what, we're already good at math, you know, we're confident, whatever, let's just do the same thing we've been doing. So yeah, you need to respect the paper, you know, you need to respect the questions, show them their due respect, because like it's like, for example, football, whatever, you need to respect your opponent. If you're overconfident, you're gonna get clapped, right? So it's the same thing. Your opponent is the paper in this case, and you need to respect it. You need to show it its respect, and then in turn, you're gonna prepare well for it.
Yeah. Also, I think a lot of people just go towards memorization. Understanding what you're learning is probably much more important than memorizing whatever you're doing, because if you don't understand what you're doing, then if a question comes that's not, you know, unfamiliar question, or that you cannot understand, like if they ask you out of syllabus, you won't be able to answer. And that is the thing, that mark may be the difference between you getting an A or A star, or, you know, A or B. So it's very important to understand like what you're learning as well.
No, 100%. For example, if you're just memorizing something you don't understand, you're banking or you're hoping on the fact that the examiner is going to ask you exactly what you've memorized. But if they kind of switch up a bit, or they try to ask you a question that's not really related to it but uses that concept, if you don't understand it properly, you're going to be finished. You're not going to know how to answer it. So yeah, you're right. You're 100% right.
And then you're going to start panicking in the exam, like, oh, I studied so hard and I don't know how to answer this. And then you just, it falls down all upon you. Your confidence gets damaged during the exam, and then you just end up failing it.
Yeah, exactly. That's why practice is important, so you overcome the roadblock of, you know, stress within the exam itself, so that when you do your actual exam, you've been there so many times that you know exactly how to deal with it.
Exactly. Past papers, that's why past papers are so important. They give you a sense of what's coming in your actual paper, and then you know, you can see the pattern, you can see the marking scheme, and then understand from it like what's going on and how to actually answer it.
Yeah, 100%. And that's why you also need to do past papers under time conditions. You can't just say, oh, I'm going to do a past paper, then it takes you 3 hours, even though it's supposed to take you like an hour. You need to test yourself in the exact same exam conditions that you're going to be tested in.
Also, yeah, one more thing. I used to do so much. Like, when marking my exams, I used to say, oh, my answer is like near enough to the marking scheme, so I'll get right next time. And I used to correct it like, oh, I got the 2 marks, even though like if it was in the actual exam, I would have not gotten a single mark. So that is something a lot of students do, and I think they should take care of. Like, you know, not get like, oh, I'll correct it the next time. If you got it wrong, just put an X, and then next time make sure you don't get the X.
I would struggle with that as well. No, you're 100% right. So I'll probably do the same thing. And the piece of advice I'd give is, there's no, like, you're not going to gain anything out of getting the mark on the practice paper. You're not going to gain anything out of it. It's not like it's going to be your actual grade. So it suits you more to be as harsh as possible rather than as lenient as possible. So you can actually learn instead of just saying, oh yeah, I got it.
Yeah, exactly. And did you struggle with procrastination? Because this was a big issue for me in year 12 and year 11 and year 12. I was struggling so much, bro. It was like, I used to sit down to study chemistry. Every time some word used to come up that like, it was too hard, I didn't understand it. I used to pick up my phone. I was like, let me just scroll and then I'll come back to studying. And then that back to studying never came. Did you struggle with procrastination or no?
Maybe early on, but I probably streamlined my technique to the point where I knew exactly how to deal with it. And there's 2 parts of procrastination, right? The first part is just you're so brain rot and you're so addicted to your phone that you just can't focus on studying for 30 minutes. And what I would do is that whenever I had like an important units exam or an important mocks coming up or just actual exams, I'll just completely delete all social media off my phone. So that's TikTok,
Hmm.
Instagram, Snapchat I'd keep just because I talk to my friends on it. It doesn't really waste
Hmm.
that much time. Um, and then I would just go that 2 weeks or that month without it. And what I would see is that after around a week or two, I'd start focusing more because my brain is not really getting the dopamine that it gets from my
Yeah.
phone. So my baseline is going lower. So now I'm actually getting a bit of dopamine from studying. I'm actually enjoying it a bit because it's better than just
Hmm.
staring at my wall, right? Um, and then the other part of procrastination is that your studying technique is so inefficient that your brain just dreads doing it. Because if your studying technique is
Exactly, like
efficient,
note taking again, like exactly like note taking, because all you're doing is you're sitting there passively and you're looking at a screen and writing the exact same thing down. So it gets kind of boring after a while, and you have the urge to pick up your phone or do something, something random.
yeah, you're right. I mean, passive studying techniques, I'd probably still disagree with you. I back note taking. I think it's active if you do it right. But other studying techniques that are passive, like just reading and highlighting and whatever,
Hmm.
um, that's so boring to the brain because you're not actually doing anything. You're not engaging with the information. That your
Hmm.
brain is going to dread it, right? So you have to give your brain some sort of challenge. I always say this, which is when you study, you shouldn't be having fun, but you shouldn't be bored either. Because there's two parts, right? Having fun is like, yeah, talking to your friends, playing FIFA or whatever. That's having fun.
Yeah,
But being bored is your brain is genuinely not doing anything. Your brain is just sitting idle. For
it's
example,
dreading. It's dreading, doing anything.
exactly. So, for example, when you're doing questions, you're still challenging your brain. I'm not saying like solving quadratic equations or just calculus
Hmm.
or whatever is fun, but your brain is engaged, so it's not bored, which is why if you're actually engaged, then you're not going to procrastinate that much.
Yeah, that's why when you do maths questions, like you get a dopamine hit every time you get a question right. So like if there's like a long ass mark question, like I think 10 marks, let's say, and you get it right, the dopamine hit in that is like probably better than most video games and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's it exactly. You get the dopamine hit, and then your brain. I'm not going to say it's fun, but your brain still doesn't get bored, which means it's not
It's
going to dread
enjoying
it.
it. It's enjoying it in a sense.
I'd probably disagree as well. I wouldn't necessarily say enjoying. I don't have fun when I do math, but I'm not bored. That's the way I try to keep it. As in, I'm not
Hmm.
like if I'm just it's a weekend and I'm trying to just have fun, I'm not gonna start doing calculus, right? But at
Yeah.
the same time, if I do it, I'm not necessarily gonna be bored. So that's the way I try to
Okay,
categorize it.
that's a different way to put it though, because when I'm doing maths, I do enjoy it, but when I'm doing chemistry, then I'm on like neutral. I'm not disliking it or not. I'm not liking it. So it depends on your what you like to do, what you're enjoying, and all of that stuff. So
Yeah, okay,
it's
fair enough
subjective
then.
to person to person.
Yeah, exactly. But the whole point is that you shouldn't be bored while doing
Yeah,
basically any subjects.
yeah, and the way you can do that is like going deeper into the topic. So, for example, in chemistry, if something's going on, if a color change is occurring, then you go and ask yourself, why is this color change happening? Why is this
Mm.
happening? And then you go into deep depth and you understand. Oh, this is because this, and then you start to take an interest in the subject. And same with physics as well. Same with maths. Not maths. You can't really go into depth in maths, but with chemistry and physics, there are subjects that you can go into depth, and you can actually start liking them based on how much you discover more and more about them. So I think that's very interesting.
No, for sure. I mean, having a curiosity about the subject helps, but at the same time, there's sometimes going to be subjects that you're just never going to be curious about. Like I was never interested in
Yeah.
English, but I still had
There's
to
nothing in
persevere through
English
it.
that you can actually be interested in.
I honestly, some people would disagree. I've seen people that are very interested in English. I don't know how, but me personally, I hated it. But I still had to lock in and do well in it.
Yeah. What was the biggest problems that you faced in A levels? Like the biggest problem that you faced?
In A levels, the biggest problem I faced was in the first couple of months. I'd probably say the first 2 months of year 12. So initially,
Mm.
I actually didn't take computer science. I took further math instead. Even though I wanted to do computer science at university, I said further math will probably help me more. I don't know how I came to that conclusion, but I did. Um, but it was genuinely like a slap in the face. Further math was so much harder than normal math. I was getting probably A's because in year 12 the highest you can get is A, right? So I was getting A's in normal math.
Mm.
But then when it came to further math, I was barely getting B's and C's. So I just had to sit
Really?
down with myself. Yeah, I mean, eventually if I locked in, I'd probably end up getting like an A or something. But I had to sit down and ask myself, is this really worth my time? Can I just, I could probably get
Mm.
an easy A star if I take computer science instead. Maybe not an easy A star, but easier relative to further math. So I just sat down and asked myself, is this worth my time? Do I really need further math? and it was honestly like it was a tough week because it was a tough decision. I didn't know what to do. So of course I made a lot of dua, all of that stuff, and alhamdulillah I made the decision to pick up computer science. And
And it
never
worked
looked
out
back.
at the end. Like you're
Yeah,
studying, you're
100%.
majoring in computer science now.
Yeah, I mean, the plan was always to major in computer science, but I would probably say that taking computer science A level helped me out a lot because there's a lot of stuff that I'm still taking in my second year of computer science that I've
That
already
you
learned
learned back
in
in
year
A-levels.
12 and year 13. Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so everything comes into place at the end. Like what's in your nasib comes to what's gonna happen in like to you in life. So it's all written. You just have to have faith and put your belief in it.
Yeah, exactly. It's all written. You just have to take the right steps. Like I'm not saying just like do whatever and trust that the final result is going to be like an A star. You still have to do
Yeah.
your part, but yeah, I just got to the point where I was like, you know what, it's not worth my time anymore. Let me just bail out.
Hmm. Did you ever get burnt out while studying? Because a lot of students, they start studying and then they overburden themselves because of improper time management, whatever the reason may be. So, do you have any tips like how to avoid burning yourself out in A levels, especially in A levels? Because, as you know, even in GCSEs, because you have many more subjects in GCSEs, so it may be overwhelming to manage all of them. So, what are your tips for avoid burnout?
Yeah, it all goes back to how efficient your studying is. So, my channel
Yeah.
motto has always been just try to study as efficiently as possible. I personally never really burnt out because I wasn't studying 10 hours a day like some of these people you see. Honestly, some of these people most of the time are lying or they're just trying to get views or something because it's like,
Yeah,
I'm studying 10 hours a day.
No human can possibly study for 10 hours straight.
Yeah. And it's just like 10 hours a day for five times a week. That's more than a full-time job, right? That's like, what, 50 hours a week?
Yeah, 50 hours.
Yeah. Nothing's worth 50 hours a week, I'll be honest. Not even studying. And you don't have to study 50 hours a week for GCSEs or for A-levels. So I'm not saying that most people try to do that, but people will watch those videos and get the impression that if I want to do well, I need to study a minimum of 5-6 hours a day. And so what happens is that they just start doing BS for like 70% of those hours, right? They'll just like read notes or do, I don't know, a bunch of practice questions, which is fine. But if you do it for 5 hours a day for a whole year, for example, you're going to get burnt out. But for me, at my peak, I was probably studying an hour and a half a day maximum. I'll be honest.
Yeah,
and
that's what I
at,
do.
like
I
at the peak
study
of year
1
13.
hour to 2 hours max.
Exactly.
1 to 2 hours is maximum. I can't do more than that because especially towards night. So like after 5 p.m. Sorry, after 8 p.m. I cannot study because my brain just doesn't function after 8 p.m. It just turns off. It's like anything relating to calculations or memorization or revision, bro, my brain does not work. So what I do is like I structure my time in a way that my brain is not exhausted, but I can still study. So I think 5 to 6, 5 to 6, 5 to 7, I study, and then after that it's just relax and go to the gym and whatever. So that is how time management works for me. And anyone who's like, I study 5 hours a day, your brain physically cannot handle that much information, and half of your information is going in from one year and out from the other. So it's not really worth it studying that long.
Exactly. And also you said the whole thing about, you can't study after 8 p.m. I actually had, I think it was a 7 p.m. or an 8 p.m. rule, which is I would not study past 7 p.m. no matter what, because I would rather just sleep early and then wake up the next day earlier and just study then. You're just kind of transferring over your studying to the next day when you're going to be more refreshed because you're going to, it's going to be in the morning. So yeah, I'd say try to study as early as possible. Don't study, if you're going to study 5 hours a day, I'm going to put your studying efficiency at like 60%. If it's 60% efficient, then the other 40% you could just not do. You could just study, 2 hours instead of 5 hours. And then you'll just get the same exact results. And now you're studying 2 hours instead of 5. You're not going to get burnt out.
And most likely it's like the first part of your revision. So if you're studying 5 hours, it's only the first 1 to 2 hours that are actually helping you. The rest 3 hours is probably just going to burn you out. You're just forcing yourself to get the information in your brain. And it's not going to really help you when it comes towards your exams. So just keep it like everything should be at a moderate amount. Anything too much is like very bad for you. So even like overtraining in the gym, playing too much football, playing too many video games, everything that is extreme is too bad for you. So everything should be in a moderate level.
Yeah, exactly. And also, like, if you're studying 10 hours a day, I'm just going to say it right now, all 9s in your GCSEs it's not worth 10 hours a day.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll take 7s in all my GCSEs over needing to study 50 hours a week. I'll say it right now because the difference between a 7 and a 9 in GCSEs, it's not as important as people think. It's not as, like, GCSEs don't matter that much as long as you just get decent GCSEs all around.
Yeah, GCSEs. I say this in my videos. GCSEs are basically a ticket to A levels, and A levels is a ticket to your university. So
Exactly.
you shouldn't be stressing yourself too much to in GCSEs. A levels I still understand a bit more, but GCSEs no, not that much.
Yep, that's it exactly. As long as you could take the A levels that you want, because this depends on your school, right? Some schools,
Yeah.
for example, my school said that if you want to take A level math, then you have to get an 8 in GCSE math. So as long as you get an 8 in GCSE math, then nothing else matters.
Okay, so
Nothing.
for us, it was I think we should get a B or above if you want to take the subject in A levels. So,
Yeah,
yeah, so
exactly.
it's just about that.
Yeah,
And
so if
you know,
someone
talking
got,
about, sorry,
I was gonna
continue.
say, if someone in your school got all A stars compared to all Bs, did it really matter?
No, it doesn't matter exactly. It does matter in a sense that they can give early entry. So I'm not. I don't know
Mm.
if you know what early entry is.
I don't think so. My bad.
So
IGCSE thing.
it's basically, you know, no, it's not. It's an A level. Like in A levels, you
Mm.
can give one of the papers earlier. So in January, instead of in giving it in June, you can give it in
Oh,
January.
okay.
So that's what I did. So I got an A star in GCSEs. So I qualified for the criteria. So I gave my pure one paper in January instead of June, and that just took the pressure off me in when it comes to June. So that is the only thing it may help in, but it's not really
Yeah.
that big of a difference either.
No, exactly. No, 100% agree. But that varies from school
Anyways,
to school and from program
yeah,
to
of course,
program.
it varies from school to school. And talking about GCSEs as well, did you notice a jump from GCSEs to A levels?
I'll probably say because I was so honed in onto my GCSE technique that I just had to
Hmm.
kind of extrapolate it into my A levels, and I didn't notice that big of a jump. Of course, I noticed a jump in the difficulty of the subject itself and the load,
Yeah.
like we talked about for the math before. uh, but compared to other people that were just kind of gliding through GCSEs, not doing that much, when they got to
Hmm.
A levels, like a lot of my friends, for example, they got a reality check, which is A levels are much harder. Like you actually need to do the work. Yeah, exactly. But for me, I was already doing decently well in my GCSEs, as in I was actually honed into my studying technique. So I just had to tweak it a bit for A levels, and then I was doing decent.
The problem is I didn't use a specific revision technique until like maybe last year. So this is
Mm.
like the first that's why I did not do like amazingly in my AS levels, because I did not know how to study in the first place. I was taking
Mm.
notes, I wasn't doing enough past papers. But then in the summer I was like, okay, there's something clearly wrong that I'm doing in my methods and I need to fix it up. So I
Mm.
sat down, I watched, do you know Ali Abdal?
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Yeah, I watched his course on like how study techniques and all of that, and then I came to a conclusion like this is how I'm gonna study, and this is how I started studying in A levels. And bro, it's been like it's been life changing essentially.
No, 100%.
Like I don't have to study for 10 hours for a test. I can study like 3 hours and I can still get the grade that I want. I can it's basically the efficiency is way more than it's ever been.
Mm-hmm. No, that's exactly it. And if anyone's watching and they're currently in their GCSEs, I'd say the best thing you could do is to really hone in onto your technique so that once you hit A levels, you could just hit the ground running. You don't have to waste time like for example you were talking about trying to figure out your technique. You could just hit the ground running, so you don't have to worry about the stress of, oh, am I going to do good enough? You could just focus on uni applications and all the other stuff.
What was your least favorite subject and how did you deal with it?
Yeah, so I kind of talked about it a couple, I don't know, just in
Yeah,
early on in the episode,
couple of
which
minutes
is
ago.
my least favorite subject in GCSEs was just English, like by far. English lit and English lang. Just a different level of hatred towards that subject. But I still had to go
Yeah.
through it, right?
What about A levels?
A levels, I probably didn't have a least favorite subject. I was actually enjoying the A levels because I was taking all the subjects that I wanted to take.
Yeah.
I'd probably say physics was the hardest, but I still enjoyed it the most. Like I was actually enjoying physics. The content I was learning, I really liked.
Did you take Cambridge physics or did you take Edexo?
I took AQA.
Ah,
'Cause
okay,
it
you
was
took
normal A
Oxford. Right.
No, not Oxford. It's just called AQA.
Oxford AQA is the same thing, no?
Is it? Oh, I don't know. I just
Yeah,
thought
it's
it's
the
called
same thing.
AQA.
No, it's the same thing.
Okay, I didn't know that.
And how did you deal with the English language, as you said? Did you force yourself to study it?
Yeah, so no, it wasn't even about forcing myself. I just genuinely had no idea how to study for it. So for example, in year 10 and year 11, early on in year 10, I was probably getting fives. And then, yeah, year 11, I did a mock and also got fives in both English Lit and English Lang,
Yeah.
or maybe a six, I don't remember exactly. And this was me trying as well. This was me actually like trying to memorize the quotes. And But I didn't have that side to me. I wasn't, I couldn't waffle that much on a paper compared to other people, right?
Hmm.
So what I ended up doing is just, there's this one YouTuber called Mr. Salis, I think teaches English, but his name is Mr. Salis. This guy genuinely changed my life. I started watching his videos, and because me personally, I'm more of like a systematic type of guy where I'm trying to understand. Yeah, I want to have a method for everything I do instead of just,
Yeah.
just start like, I don't know, improvising. So he kind of gave me that with English, because instead of just,
Hmm.
be creative and write whatever, he would break down every single question. So paper one, question two, three, four. Paper two, question two, three, four. He would break down every single question, exactly what you need to include to get the top grades and whatever. And he would even give you some like sample texts that you could just play around with and try to copy, not the text itself, of course, but try to copy the idea of it. And once I started doing that, I immediately saw a jump to like sevens. And then on one of the
Hmm.
papers, I got an 8. And I ended off the subject with like a 7 in each. But I was still very impressed because I only had like 2-3 months to jump from a 5 to an 8 or a 5 to a 7. So I was happy with it, honestly.
Yeah, I mean that's good. What did you get in the end?
So I got 9s in everything except English. I got 7s.
I mean that's not bad. If you got 9 in everything and then that in English, it's not really that bad. As you
Yeah.
said, it doesn't really matter, does it?
No, it doesn't matter at all. I mean, to me, because it's not like I was going to take English A level either. To me, it was just more
Yeah.
like, how can I get 9s here and then get like a 5 in English? Like, it was more of like of an ego thing, of course.
Yeah, it
And I
was
had the
bothering you.
time to spend to actually get better at English. So I was like, let me just
Hmm.
try to get an A at least.
Makes sense. Okay.
Yep.
Now I want to talk about something that is my time's about to come, right? Because you've already experienced it. What, 2 years ago? One a year ago, I'd say.
Mm.
1.5 maybe. I don't know. So about university application and all of that stuff. So first of all, how did you proceed with your uni application?
So for most people, because we're talking about GCSEs and A levels, most people are probably in the
Yeah.
UK thinking about just UK universities.
Hmm.
I did apply to the UK, but the thing about me and you as well is that we both grew up in the UAE.
Yeah.
So we're international students. Like if we want to go to the UK, it's probably a
Hmm.
slightly different process. We're going to be paying, first of all, a lot more.
A
Um,
lot more, yeah.
so
I'm talking
like
about in
just,
terms of
an
a
absurd
from
amount.
a UAE international student perspective, from the UAE, let's say.
Yes. Okay, so you probably consider a couple of things like what is your budget?
Yeah.
Can you afford to go to the UK, Canada, the US,
Hmm.
or are you looking for something cheaper? That's the first thing. And then once you figure out your budget, and then once you figure out what you actually want, it just depends on what you're looking for, right? So if you want to study medicine, for example, you're not really going to go to the
It's
US
probably
or
not
Canada.
wise to go to somewhere like Canada.
Yeah, because you have to do pre-med and then you have to get into
Yeah,
a
and
med
then it's
school
just
and
long.
all that stuff. It's a long
Exactly.
process. So you probably look at the UK. And then if you want to do computer science, it might be better for you to go to the US because there's a bigger industry there. So it just depends
Yeah.
on what you want. But yeah, I personally applied to the UK. I applied to
Hmm.
Canada. And I also applied to the Netherlands because they're quite cheap compared to other countries. And they also have like a English speaking industry, right? Like everyone speaks English there.
Yeah.
The only problem is the housing, because the universities there don't provide housing, so it was very hard for me to find housing. So instead, I chose to go to Canada, and alhamdulillah, was a good
Hmm.
decision.
Right. And how many unis did you shortlist, and then at the end, like, how many did you apply to?
So the UCAS process makes you apply to 5 universities. So I applied to 5 there. I got into like 4, I think, of the 5 that I applied to. Even though I wasn't really set on going to the UK, I just applied anyways, just in case.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then in Canada, I only applied to 1, and in the Netherlands, I also only applied to 1. I knew exactly the universities that I wanted.
Hmm.
Um, So I got into basically everything that I wanted to, and then I just had the choice.
Yeah. So why did you choose Canada out of all places? Was there a reason,
Uh,
specific reason?
I'll probably say the industry for computer science is not that bad compared to like Europe. The pay here for
Yeah.
computer science is also decent, and the whole
Hmm.
process of actually moving to Canada is much easier than the US. Probably on par, maybe a bit easier than the UK. So it was just a bunch of different factors. If things were different, I would have been in the Netherlands right now. But you know,
Yeah.
process like it's just the
Is
decision that I made at the time.
Yeah. Exactly. You don't regret that decision, right?
Of course, no, man. I have
everything.
no regrets. I'm happy here, alhamdulillah. Bro.
Right. That's great. And also, did your YouTube play a part in like your extracurriculars and all of that?
I don't think they did. I don't think it did because when I was applying, first of all, when you apply to the Netherlands, it's solely based
Mm.
on an admissions exam that you do. So I did that
Okay.
exam. I got, it's like the top 300 people I think get in, and I was like 150, so I was like right in the middle.
Mm.
And then for the university that I applied to in Canada, there wasn't really that many essays. It was just based on your grades.
Mm.
And then of course the whole UCAS personal statement thing. I didn't put that much effort into it, but I do remember talking about my YouTube channel. I have no idea if it helped. Honestly, the UK, I think they care more about, are you actually interested in the
Grades.
subject? Yeah,
Right.
and the grades, of course. Maybe if I applied to the US, then it would have been a consideration, but I didn't apply to the US.
How stressful was the whole process of, from the moment you enter your A levels, you have to start worrying about shortlisting your unis, applying to them, then setting up the portals,
Mm.
what else, IELTS, stuff like that. How stressful was it at that time?
It definitely had its ups and downs. I'd probably say because you have 2 years to do all of that, at least for most people. You have 2 years you basically have all of year 12 to really focus on what you want to do and then hone in on what universities you're going to apply to. And then year 13 is probably the most stressful year. I'd probably say year 13, December, January was probably the most busy because I was worrying about
Mm.
applications and at the same time I had mocks.
Mm.
But I still wouldn't
Yeah, that's
say
gonna be
I
me.
was
That's gonna be me
stressed.
in a couple of months.
Yeah, no, hopefully it goes well, bro. But
Inshallah.
I don't think of myself as someone that gets stressed a lot. It was more like, oh, I just have a lot on
Yeah,
my plate
same.
right now. Let me just lock in.
Exactly. No, I use this analogy a lot. Like if you're a pilot and something goes wrong on your plane, like for example, an engine failure or something, electrical failure, you're not. If you start panicking, who's gonna take care of all of the passengers behind you? So that's why a pilot is always trained to stay calm in a emergency scenario because their life depends on their hands and also to so many other people. So like if you start stressing out, you're gonna cause the whole thing to crash down. Similar with you in your life, if you start panicking and you start going haywire, you're not gonna understand like what am I supposed to do. So you have to be focused, concentrated, and you just have to be locked in, as you said.
Yeah, no, 100%. And also, if you don't take responsibility, then who is? A lot of people's parents maybe take responsibility for their whole university
Yeah.
application, but at the
But
end of
then
the
when
day,
you go to
like,
the university, your parents are not going to be with you. You're going to be independent. So
yeah,
you have
exactly.
to start learning to be independent from a very early age.
No, 100%. And I'll probably say the whole YouTube channel probably helped me with the independence thing. When I actually started
Yeah.
doing something on my own, it was my own
Mhm.
idea. And even making just a small bit of money from it as well. It gave me a bit more independence and it gave me more responsibility, which probably helped me out with the whole application process and, transition into university.
Especially confidence is something a lot of people lack, and it's so important. Like, I, it's just like I can't explain how important confidence is. Like, you need to believe in yourself that I can do this. Ego is something different. Confidence is something different. You need to have confidence, but not get egotistical about it.
No, 100%. And also confidence is just not, it's not only you standing in the mirror and saying, yeah, I'm worthy or I believe in myself, whatever.
Yeah.
Confidence is actually you having a set of experiences that have given you that confidence. Someone that's
Exactly.
confident about their abilities in football, he's not confident because he just thinks he's good at football. He's confident because he's played so many matches, he's trained so much that he knows that he could probably get into most teams, for example. So confidence is about actually having a set of experiences that could back that confidence.
And also, confidence is basically, in a way, like, if someone tells us to go and speak publicly, we'll have confidence in ourselves to, we can stand on a stage, we can address an audience because we do YouTube. And because of that, I can talk to a camera, I'm not camera shy, I can,
Mm-hmm.
you build up confidence in your speaking ability. So it's different from person to person. If you ask a coder if he believes in himself, and the coder will obviously say, yeah, I can write this code for you because I've been doing it for so long. So it depends on person to person, but if you're good at something, you have to be confident in it. If you're not confident in it, you're not going to get the opportunities to prove yourself as well.
Yeah, 100% agree, bro.
Anyways, now I want to move on towards the last part, which is about your YouTube channel. How did you start in the first place, and what made you start it?
So yeah, we talked about this off camera, but I just had a lot of free time, especially in like the end of year 11 to end of year 12 to beginning of year 13. And also, I really wanted to make more use of my time, and I thought that it was kind of pathetic that I was about to turn, what was it, like 17 or 18, and I still haven't made a single, dollar or a single dirham online.
Hmm.
So I was just like, I don't know what to do. I've always wanted to do a YouTube channel. It's not that hard to build up an audience and then monetize it. So I just thought about a couple of different things, and I thought how I do pretty decent in school, and I have like a proper studying technique that I haven't really shared with anyone. And the whole studying niche as well at the time, no one was focusing on their thumbnails or titles. Everyone was just making videos, right? So I said I can become better than these people through honing in all my thumbnails and titles and editing and whatever. And I could also monetize it in different ways, not only rely on AdSense and sponsorships. I could also, sell coaching or a guide.
Exactly. A lot of people do that in the educational field.
Yeah, exactly. But 2 years ago when I started, especially in GCSEs and A-levels, no one was selling anything except maybe flashcards. People were just making flashcards and selling them, which is fine. But no one was, utilizing their platform as much as possible. So I said, why not just start? I'll just make a video a week. Worst case scenario, I get really good at making videos. And the best case scenario can be like a business or something.
Yeah. And how did you notice your channel growing? How long did it take for it to grow and all of that stuff?
It took a while. It took a while to the point where I thought that my channel was like shadow banned or something, because for the first couple of months, I was getting no views whatsoever, even though I think my videos were pretty, like I have videos right now that are probably on like 20,000 views that when I released them, they didn't get 100 views for like the first week.
Really?
Yeah, so it took a long time. I remember I started in August and I hit 100 subscribers in January.
Really? Okay, so I'm way far ahead in that case, because I
had to grind it out. My growth was so slow in the beginning.
But that's how it is for a lot of people. Their growth is slow in the beginning, but then it just one day everything goes up for them.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. So for example, my Ramadan video, which you talked about, that's my most viewed video. That video, let's say I made in March of last year, or March of this year, 2024. At that point, when I released that video, I had 8,000 subscribers. A week after I released that video, I had 20,000 subscribers.
Really?
Right. So it took me
a
year and a half.
So happy.
I mean, it is what it is, right? Because I knew the video was going to do well anyways, because it's like a very massive topic. But the first year and a half, I got 8,000 subscribers. And then a week after, I got 12,000. So that's how it is. It's exponential. It's never going to be linear. Like I said before, it took me like 4 or 5 months just to get 100 subscribers.
4 or 5 months. So I started in July, I think, and I'm at 336 right now. So it's still going strong, because I think I have a bit more because I got a bit of promotion from other study YouTubers, so such as people who teach maths on YouTube. I did a podcast with them. Their audience came to mind. So I think that because of that, I have a slightly higher. Otherwise, I would have been in the same scenario as you. And that it's just what it is. You have to stay consistent, and you will get the reward for being consistent.
No, 100%. And I just told myself, what, no matter what, for the next year, I'm just going to make one video a week. It doesn't take that long to make one video a week, right? It took me like 3-4 hours of my week. Alhamdulillah, paid off now. I haven't made a video in a while, but I have like 23,000 subscribers.
Yeah, and if someone, if someone were to start a YouTube channel, what would you advise to them? Because, there's a lot of stuff that making a YouTube channel is not as easy as it sounds. Sitting down in front of a camera, talking to a camera, it takes a lot more guts than it seems. So do you have any advice for people who are actually going to start a YouTube channel or want to? Yeah,
I would say, first of all, you're not going to be good in your first video. You're not going to be good in your first 5 videos. You could check my first video out. It was like the lighting was terrible. The script wasn't good. But what I would say is that script your videos, especially for the first couple of videos. I still script all of my videos. I never just click record and start waffling. But some people can do that. But I'd say the first couple of videos, try to script them so you don't just get nervous and start stuttering, and then that throws you off. And also just try to make, it's kind of cringe, but just try to make each video better than the last. If you can make each video 10% better than the last one, then after like a couple of weeks, you're gonna be much better.
Exactly. And what's the biggest challenge you faced as a creator? Because what's the biggest challenge, especially in the education niche?
So in the education niche, I'll probably say it was more of the business side, which is trying to figure out my pricing. Because when it comes to like selling courses and guides and whatever, all of the advice that's given online is just trying to make it expensive and just give as much value as possible, which is good advice if you're going to sell a course about making money, for example. But if you're selling a course to 14, 15-year-olds, they're not going to have £200 to just spend on a course.
Well. Exactly.
All right. So I had to sit down and think to myself, like, my course right now is kind of expensive. even though I 100% back that you get more value out of it than what you pay, it's still kind of expensive. Would it be more wise to just make it cheaper so that people can actually afford it, and I would get more sales, and in turn more people benefit from it? So that probably is the biggest challenge I faced, just trying to figure out the whole business side of it, and I'm still trying to figure that out.
Yeah, and what are your tips to gain an audience? Like the proper, not you can gain an audience, but it might not be your target audience. So what's the best way to gain your target audience?
In terms of the target audience, you just have to give advice that's genuinely not basic. You have
Authentic.
to give your authentic, yeah, exactly, your authentic advice from your perspective. And the best way to do that is just to tell a lot of stories. Early on, I would tell stories about, me not doing well in further math, or me not doing well in physics.
Storytelling
and how I
is so
overcame
important, and people don't realize it.
that. No, 100%. We learn from stories, bro. I mean, storytelling is like the ancient form of teaching, like just
Yeah,
how it used to be,
exactly.
right? We used to gather up around the fire and just tell stories, and that's how you'd learn experiences, for example.
How did the channel benefit you? In like what ways did you see that channel? Oh, this is actually helping me and benefiting me as well.
Well, there is the money aspect, which is it started making money, and honestly, I still remember the first couple of like pounds, because I sell in pounds. The first pounds I made, and it went into my account, and then I was at the school canteen, and I went to like the canteen, and I bought like this pastry, which is worth nothing, like 5 dirhams, 6 dirhams, which is like
you must have been
a
proud
pound and a
that
half.
this is my own money.
Oh yeah, I took a bite out of it and I said, wow, I really just fed myself. Like it was, because for us, right, we grew up in the UAE. It's not that common for us to work like a minimum wage job.
Exactly,
or whatever.
yeah.
It's like most people that grow up in the UAE don't really work. So yeah, I was really proud of myself, and so it gave me a confidence boost that I could do most things, because I grew up watching YouTube, right? I'm a YouTube kid, like I'm sure you are as well. Like our generation, we grew up watching YouTube. So to go to the point where I myself am making videos, and instead of just brain rotting off watching other videos, I'm actually creating content that's somewhat beneficial and helps me out as well.
There's a quote I
was
think that
confidence boost.
says, "Be a producer, not a consumer."
Yeah,
And that's
I mean,
like
to
what
be
I've been
fair,
trying to implement in my life.
I'll be honest, I'm probably both. Maybe more of a consumer.
Yeah,
but
of course, but there are people that only consume; they don't produce anything. So like, you should be producing something as well. You should be giving value to the world if you can.
Yeah, so yeah, exactly. So if you can't give any value to the world, then what are you doing as a human being, right? You need to learn some sort of skill.
You do
you can start
something
giving
that you
value.
can provide value to humans as well.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's so easy to just get an audience, especially on TikTok. Like I don't even do TikTok, but you can make one video and blow up on TikTok compared to YouTube. YouTube takes more time.
Yeah. And what are your future plans? And do you intend to return on YouTube, because it's been quite a while since you last uploaded?
Yeah, so I took the summer off. I made like 1 or 2 videos in the summer. I'm still having the whole debate in my own head, which is, for how long can I keep making GCSE videos? It's gotten to the point where I'm back to
this
turn
is
20.
something I'm struggling with as well. Like, when I go to university, do I still continue making GCSE A levels video, or do I expand my niche into like productivity and all of that stuff? Like, I can give an example of Ali Abdal. He used to make, what do you say? He used to make medicine videos when he first started, and then he expanded into what now, and now he does basically everything. So that's what I'm battling in my head as well. Do I grow my audience, or like do I stick to the niche for the time being and then grow it?
Yeah, so I think if you want to keep making YouTube videos, you're gonna have to keep expanding your niche. The only thing I'd say is, I can expand my niche, but then into what? Productivity, and then I'm just making the same videos that everyone else is making, right? I'd probably say most of like my revolutionary, not really revolutionary, but most of my different ideas were in the studying niche.
Yeah.
But when it comes to stuff like just normal productivity, it's more of the same basic things that everyone already knows, right? So I would say I don't see a future of me like expanding my niche. And I'd also say I don't see me making videos until I'm like 25 about GCSEs and A-levels, right? It's going to get to the point where I'm just kind of old.
It's going to be weird.
Like
why
children.
is a grown-ass man making videos on GCSE and A-levels?
Exactly. And the beard is not helping either. So like I look way older than I am. I'm only 19, but I probably look like I'm mid-20s. So if I keep making videos, I don't know if I'm going to resonate with the audience like I used to. But in terms of like the guide, I still believe in the guide that I made. I just call it the ultimate guide to acing your GCSE. So I might expand more into like influencer marketing. I start, doing affiliate marketing so that other people that are still in the niche, they could get like
can be benefited of it.
Yeah, and they could get like a percent. For example, let's say, so you're making videos. For example, let's say I use you as an affiliate marketer, and you promote my guide or whatever. I'm not saying this is what's gonna happen. I'm just saying this could be an example.
Of course.
You can make like I don't know, 20% off whatever sales you get.
Hmm.
And I don't really have to do that much work. I just,
Passive income,
self-affiliate or whatever.
basically.
Yeah, and for you also, you don't have to promote it that much if it's in your description and, 1 out of 1,000 people click it, then that's still pretty decent
Yeah,
amount.
exactly. And now to end it off, what are your final advices to, the people who are doing their GCSEs and A levels? What would you say that can motivate them or, help them throughout their journey of it, A levels and GCSEs?
I'd probably bring it back to efficiency. I would say always ask yourself, is what I'm doing right now the most efficient thing that I could be doing? If you're about to study at 2 a.m., ask yourself, is it really efficient for me to study at 2 a.m. or should I just sleep and study the next day? If you're about to highlight your notes, ask yourself, is this really the most efficient thing? And if it's not, then try to learn what actually is efficient. I have a whole bank of YouTube videos about exactly how to study efficiently. I'm sure you're also going to be you're going to be making videos about efficient studying and whatever.
Yeah.
There's a lot of resources out there, paid and free. Like I talked about my guide, for example, if you really want to delve deep into it. But yeah, it's gotten to the point where you can't just open up the textbook and read anymore. You have to spend at least an hour or two of your time just trying to learn how to actually study efficiently. And that's just a
Yeah.
one-time investment. And then after that, you just know what to do. So you could just hit the ground running. You don't have to waste time with figuring it out like me and you did, right? We had to learn from
Yeah.
our mistakes. They say like,
Exactly. No,
was it
that
a
is
smart person learns
so
from
true
his
because
mistakes, but a wise person learns from like the mistakes of others. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So we're producing this content because I say this always in my videos. Like, I don't want people who are in their GCSEs and A levels to make the same mistakes that I did. I made the mistakes. I cannot go back and correct them because they happen. Like, whatever I do, they will be there. They will be a part of my life. But then you guys can, you guys can not make the same mistakes, and guys can improve based on mine and Yusuf's mistakes. And there are so many other YouTubers as well that make the same content like us. You can go ahead and check what mistakes they made. You can combine all of our mistakes and make sure you do not repeat them. So you basically have an endless guide on how to actually get good grades and how to become more productive, how to, improve your study techniques, become efficient, and you can basically do anything with this much information. So it's all about how you use the information and whether you're wise with it or whether you just listen from it from one year and use it the other year to take it out of your. So it's all down to you and what you do with it.
No, spot on, bro. Exactly. There's no excuse for you not to be learning how to study.
Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. I'll leave Yusuf's YouTube, Instagram, whatever it is. All of them will be linked in the comment section below. And the description as well. So thank you for watching. Stay tuned to the channel and I'll see you very, very soon. Goodbye.